All right, we'll start this regular council meeting. It's August 1st, 2022.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call, please.
Mayor Laughlin,
Here.
Councilperson Sexton,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Dean,
Here.
Goodweiler,
Here.
Stillman.
Motion someone to approve tonight's agenda.
moved.
Second.
Second.
Jerry. All those in favor of approving tonight's agenda, say aye.
Aye.
The consent agenda consists of the minutes of the July 18th regular council meeting, the approval of 2 West Branch Fire Department appointments, and the claims.
3 appointments.
2 or 3? 3 appointments, yeah. I'll name them for the record. That is a Cadet Kate Bailey Piggers, Cadet Hunter Niles, and a firefighter EMS Leah Seelick. Any comments or questions on the claims or consent agenda? Hearing none, let's vote, please.
I don't need a motion. I don't need a motion.
So moved, please.
Second.
It's been a while.
Okay, Councilperson Miller,
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Stillman,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Goodweiler.
All right, presentations tonight will be from the Animal Control Commission Chairperson, Dr. Alan Byer, regarding the dog park expansion and planning.
And you guys are already up to date on this. In January, we came up with the idea that might be a good idea to expand the park because we were, it exceeded our capacity, had trouble keeping the grass growing. In February, we got the Board of Supervisors to approve that land to cede to the city. In March, you approved accepting it for the expansion of the dog park. So April, we sent out for bids. And in May, we accepted the bid from Central Iowa Fencing. And after we'd made plans and designs and things, and then we were asked to wait until fall for the fundraising. Next week, we have a meeting for finalizing that, and we'll probably do the fundraising in September. The bid, oops, the exact. The bid for the fencing was $15,790. And there'll be a little cement work done. We figured another 1,000. And we've given them a down payment of $1,000. Hold our bid.
Good idea. If we need it, it'll get used. Yep, very good. So just keep on doing it.
I have a few questions.
Heidi, yes, go ahead.
So, and I've talked to Doc about this too, but I just wanted to put some questions for us so we can consider. So we had talked about putting everything in writing. I know that we have a quote now, but I was not sure, Doc, how long this quote will hold true with the price that they have given you. Is that now something in writing that we have?
We were asked for a down payment of $1,000, which without.
I'm sorry, Doc, I can't really hear you. Can you?
On the original bid, we were asked for $1,000 down payment. We've been visiting with them, and they keep the bid for $1,000 down payment. And I talked to them last week, and then if for some reason we didn't raise the money this year and went into next year, they would have to renegotiate the price just for cost of materials. So
Is that, Doc, is that in writing? And when you say this year, like how long do we have for this price to hold?
That's all communication with the salesperson and also the vice president at the office. So not in writing.
Okay, it would be great if we could have it in writing and have an exact date as to when they will hold that price, because then my following questions would be, we go ahead and start fundraising this money, and we don't get to the $16,000, right? So what do we do with that money? And let's just say for whatever reason, it takes us 2 to 3 years and we still don't get to the amount. Like, what are our contingencies? What do we do?
Okay, fair question. We'd have to discuss that. Yeah,
So see if you can get it in writing to hold that cost until, I don't know, the end of the year.
that was given to me orally, but I could probably get them to write that out.
All right, that'd be great.
And then in council, like I said, one thing to think about just overall is, you know, that those questions that I just posed is, let's say that we don't get, you know, the amount in a year or two. And I hope we do, I really do. But if we don't, what are we going to do with that money? You know, if we don't get to our goal, we'll have to do something. And this is something that we'll need to think about is, let's say, can we then, you know, put it toward the dog park in some other way so that it's still going to what it's meant to be, but, you know, we have to have a contingency plan that money can't just sit there if, you know, if that main purpose is not there anymore.
Well, I think it would continue to be collected until there's enough. Even if it's next year, we'd have to go out for new bids. That money still be used for the fencing, right?
Right, and the person from the office of vice president said that it would be for the cost of materials, whatever change in the cost of materials. So there shouldn't, and prices went up quite a bit in the last 2 years, but they have not changed since January, according to a couple of people in construction.
See if you can get a written statement of how, hold that until as long as possible, I guess. is what I would say.
And I guess I'm optimistic that we can.
If you need somebody to write it something up, just drop an email.
And it's,
And Doc, not that I'm not an optimist, but you know, we need to think about, you know, plan B and C too.
sure, and 10 years ago, we built the first part and we were able to raise the money. And at that time, I think it was around 11,000, but it may be wrong.
Just from our point, we struggled quite a bit with Hoover Days. We kind of got lucky at the end. And then the whole splash pad thing, we just have $100 just sitting, that we have to keep track of every month.
That's not dogs, man.
No.
You start throwing dog, people's pets into it, though. They just right, break open the paycheck.
That's right.
All right, thank you, Alan. Okay, let's move on to a third reading of ordinance 796. Amending chapter 55, animal protection and control. Defines bites and wounds and stuff like that. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Any comments? None, let's vote, please.
Councilperson Sexton,
Yes.
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Stulman?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
All right, resolution 22-73, a pay estimate number 1 in the amount of $756,667.50 to Boomerang Corporation for the new wastewater treatment facility. Motion, please.
Motion. Second.
I don't know what to really look for on this, so I really can't.
I just have
Can't
a
argue
comment.
anything.
I looked at it. I can't look at it now. But doesn't that sound like a lot of money for just digging a hole? I mean, that's 10% of the cost.
It's mobilization, it's all
Does
right
that
here.
consider them buying some other materials?
It's bonds in there too.
Which is the whole.
So the bonds is the emergency money that they got up front for if something were to go wrong.
That's required by law.
yes.
So they have to have that in place before they can start,
That's $155,000.
Correct.
because it's a payment bond and 100%. So the payment bonds for the whole 8.8 million and so that, I mean, that's expensive, obviously.
Okay, but a third of the labor and equipment for lagoon construction, well, I guess they say it's 46% complete. But
Dave's on the call too, but I'm sure he can probably speak to,
I'm not questioning, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just questioning, sounds like a lot of money to dig a hole.
you know,
$8 million sounds like
It's an $8 million hole. This isn't even.
a pretty big roll.
Less than a 10.
Okay,
Good question. though. Any other comments? Okay, let's vote on the pay estimate then, please.
Councilperson Goodweiler?
Yes.
Miller?
yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Stulman? Yes. Dean?
Yes.
All right, resolution 22-74, allowing event signage in public right of way for the Hoovers Hometown Days, August 5th through 7th. Motion, please.
Move.
Second,
And we gotta give ourselves a commit to put signs in our own property.
You don't normally allow signs in the right of way.
No,
allowing us to break the rules. So. For 3
Okay.
days.
I know. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Go ahead, Leslie.
Councilperson Sexton?
Yes.
Miller?
yes.
Stulman? Goodweiler?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
It also includes the image to give a tax-free, tax deductible gift.
Is that through
CDG?
CDG?
Through us.
Through us. Comes all through us.
We are eventually working, we're working to go more to the CDG.
At some point, probably, that's my inkling.
Yeah. Or some other organizational.
We will meet shortly after Hoover Days to kind of start implementing actual ideas. Yeah.
Fundraising? Well, that's it.
Keep that money over there. Make up the difference.
Not for me to decide.
Well, who decides?
Well, this is Hoover Days month. This is Hoover Days month.
Who's Hoover Days? It's gotta be somebody.
This branch is Hoover Days.
Who's best friend?
What's that got to do with dog park? We vote on this? Yeah. Resolution 2275, approving the proposal of Terracon Consultants
So moved.
for construction observation and material testing. Do we know this was coming? I think we did.
This is always part of, you don't want the contractor doing their own testing. That's always a problem.
I think Dave said this was coming
Yes,
a
that's-
while ago.
This is a normal outside the bid
I
item.
did find how much it is. Hourly,
Yeah.
it's hourly.
Yes. It's TNR.
That's why
Or
they need a
T&M.
breakdown of the hours of their employees.
It's a TNM, but they should send us,
It was in our estimates too. I went back and looked, so.
so they should send us hour sheets and costs on them after they're done. That's the Dave or Dave, I think Dave handles that.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote on that, please. Leslie, resolution 2275.
Councilperson Miller,
Yes.
Goodweiler,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Stulman, Sexton.
Yes.
All right, number 9, Kessler has some leftover property that he doesn't want. Surrounded by West Branch property, he wants to give it to us. So.
So I actually looked at it and I came in and talked to Adam about it this morning. There's another chunk, if you look, yeah. Why don't we just claim that while we're at it?
Which one?
Unknown owner, it's like a weird sliver.
Oh, yeah.
There's like 3 or 4 parcels that Leslie showed me that are all right contiguous in that area.
I remember Mark talking to me about all this stuff. When he
So
was
do
little.
I.
So and I was like, I don't know how to, I think I went down and talked to the auditor about it and they don't, it's probably something like the deed, that land got left out in the deed in the 1800s and it never got, or you can't read the quill pen on the deed, one of the two. It's usually what happens.
Well, how do we get it if we want it?
Well,
It's a really odd piece. of-
we could try to claim that we own it and do a quiet title action and we just have to do a couple
The adjacent property owners would be the.
Well, and they ain't been paying
Do
taxes
we
on
want
it,
it?
so somebody's gotta jump up and then say they want it.
we'd have to claim in the lawsuit that we think we own it and we treat it as our own. Let's stick a West Branch flag down there.
You think Cedar County would have been looking for somebody to pay for that tax
Yeah.
on that piece of property?
I could guess who's been mowing it for 60 years.
Us.
So
Okay.
is this down
The
by,
tree is-
this is on
the Mark Road used to-
Mark Orioles whole place.
Mark's side of the creek,
No,
right?
it's on the other side of the creek.
Well, the part we're talking about tonight,
Yeah,
the
that's on the east
unknown
side.
is that down there by Squire's land?
No,
No?
Not that far.
Not that far down.
it's still south of World's property.
Just north of-
Yeah.
Well, regardless, we should accept it. I mean, if he wants to
Yeah.
give that to us, we should take that. That's another battle later on.
Well, I'd say if we can do it all at once, though, why not? Here's what's gonna happen is we're gonna end up doing something with that creek and we're gonna need easements. And then we're gonna be fighting, trying to find easements from somebody that we don't even know who the heck it is.
Condemn it.
So what do we have to do to?
You'd have to condemn the easement if you didn't know who the owner was. No. You'd have to publish a notice in the newspaper, everybody who's ever had their name on the title.
Of an unknown owner?
You'd go back in the title search to find out when's the last time somebody.
How busy are you?
There's another little sliver in
Yeah, I
there.
see that.
Yeah, there's two,
Triangle?
there's like a boomerang and then that's that weird little triangle.
Mhm.
Yeah, is that part of, well, that says unknown owner too.
Yep, it does. I see that. I've drafted both of those.
It might have to do when they, because this, I think this was platted and somehow the plat didn't catch it or I don't.
Sure.
Or look, I mean,
It's a weird, the whole thing's weird.
I'd like to see them find the 2 pins there along the creek.
Okay, so everyone's in agreement to accept the castle property?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'll get that drawn up so we can accept it next meeting.
I think while you're at it, do a little research on those other tiny, little the
Yeah.
boomerang and the triangle. We'll call it the boomerang.
I mean, we're not gaining nothing. It's all junk land, but at least,
It's
all junk land.
The drawback is we're losing tax dollars on it.
Nobody's paying right now
Ain't nobody
anyway.
paying anyway.
All right, move on. Property taxes. Discussion, West Branch property taxes. So Adam did a little research and found we're doing really somewhere in the middle. What's the function of this discussion, Adam? Just to let us know that
I know there was discussion about possible what we want to raise our water rates or where we're sitting at. I think in general, I think Colton was looking for information for everyone to see as well.
because we were considering possibly a 91 cent. Where'd that come?
It'd be, yeah, roughly 91 cents would be the Maggie's plan that she showed was 91 cents. So that would put us 14.25. But that's not to say the other cities wouldn't be raising them either. So next year I'd have to include their changes.
So my question would be, is you got the $47 increase on a value of 100,000. What's the total dollars would increase our budget by raising 91 cents?
Really
Yeah, I don't
wouldn't. It would just be the payments on that capital improvement plan. It's just strictly your debt service. So whatever our service number was, 400,000 or whatever it was, 200,000, I can't recall. But it's strictly just for the debts in the capital improvement plan that you guys will pass in October. So it won't go to anything other than debt.
Okay.
Correct. So projects.
Either that or water rates. You may have to do a hybrid of the two.
The good thing about this is nothing's good about it. But I guess one of the positive ways of going about this is we have that capital improvement savings thing at the end. So as we start paying this off and we don't need that whole 91 cents, it'll stay. And then we can start backfilling that capital improvement fund. So then maybe 400 years from now, when somebody wants to do something, there'll be enough money there where they can do it.
Not when inflation's going up faster, you can raise the prices.
But you know what I'm saying? So, you know, at least we're gonna be able to utilize that fund, hopefully at some point. Because right now it's just down there for decoration.
I guess the question I noticed we asked Maggie when we were talking about this was, does this number hold for how many years does she think this number holds? I mean, we're increasing the value every year. So
That's a good question. When I've talked with Maggie, they generally do not include growth in their projections. They just do a 2%, 3% value increase. They tend to undershoot just to be safe.
Has figured 2%.
So when she tells you the rates are going to be 91 cents, unless the project costs change, if they don't, then that's the highest it will be, if not lower.
we probably got at least 5 years growth before we. Well, who knows? I mean, we could have ground in Johnson County that might all of a sudden start coming.
Oh,
up.
yeah, there's plenty of land on either side of town. I could all of a sudden conveniently become
Could be, but
available.
I mean,
Someone.
you weren't around when the farmers. in this
Oh,
area
no,
Did not give up any ground on it. We were landlocked. This town did not grow for a long time because we were land.
I even have farmland around my house that's got for sale signs on it now.
Solon at $14.
No, but Solon has a gigantic,
Tax base?
they have a gigantic lost because there's only 2 cities in Johnson County that take the lost in, so. Lemon Hills, so they have
They get all of it.
gobs of money.
It was like
Hill-
2 million or
Yeah,
something.
the
It
one year they
was-
got like, it was over $1 million or something like that, so so Solon and Hills and Lone Tree, I think, have the lost in Johnson County, so. That's why their tax rate can stay as, and plus they have building growth, I mean, probably more than here now, they've got 300 units, they just platted on the west side of
West
town.
Branch gets some of that, don't they?
Yeah, but not, they're getting off Johnson County sales and stuff, so,
Only if it comes to West Branch.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
get the Bickford portion of it.
It does, we get a
Yeah,
small.
yeah, it's
we get
true,
a
you're
smaller
right. I forgot
portion.
I thought the supervisor forgot we were at the county. right?
12 or 20,000 a year we get, because it's just the neighborhood, so that's.
Yeah.
But we do get some from Johnson County.
Yeah,
We need growth in Johnson.
yeah, you are right, you do.
Probably our next direction.
That should be from a good chunk of donors.
Okay.
Fire station.
Tiffin's 11 something, almost 12.
They will be going up. trust me.
Wilton's 1355. That's pretty good.
It's like 14.7.
That would be another thing to know is how many of them cities have had to do an old $8 million sewer project.
Yeah, but this isn't for the sewer.
Correct, what Jerry said, but I would argue that West Branch with its creek issues probably is the reason why we probably need somewhat higher. Not every other town has 4 creeks running through it that destroys your infrastructure.
Okay, so the next item would be water rates.
Did we even decide what we want to do here?
We
discussed
We
it, but I
weren't
don't think
we
we
weren't
anybody said yes or
deciding
no.
anything, we were just discussing.
Just discussing.
Doesn't get us anywhere.
Except the 91-cent rate increase. Thank you. Water rates.
Yeah, same thing. Once we get quotes from Wapsie Creek, Herbert Hoover, roundabout, that should be what triggers capital improvement bonds. Yeah. Water rates, I know you guys wanted to know what water rates were. Currently, they're at 779. 1,700 gallon minimum. I don't know if that's scaring any of you, if it goes up a little bit. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I know you guys wanted to have some discussions in terms of water rates. And we can do the 2% increase per year. That's not an issue. That can be done whenever. We just prefer it be at the same time. So when we're changing rates, we're just changing them all at the same time for admin purposes.
Any idea how much we would consider? Another 20 to 30 cents? What was our last increase?
Time out. None of this matters. Much does it cost to make 1,000 gallons of water? Just making up numbers.
Does the fund keep itself afloat? Doesn't it? I thought it did.
Or are we looking at
Currently,
increasing this to help pay for the
Correct.
CIP? And the water
Current
issues
level.
on the east side. That's what we're raising. So water can pay for water.
But if you don't know how much it costs to make 1,000 gallons of water, How do you know if water's paying for water?
Not the making of the water, it's the doing the repairs on the water that we're paying for, not making the water. That's why we're looking at increasing it. To help pay for,
That should be all.
I
in
would
water.
think producing and repairs would be the same.
Yeah.
Same bucket. Pretty solid in that, aren't we? now? Nothing for a while.
This year, we're supposed to be at about $100,000 surplus. But once we start eventually doing the water tower maintenance, there's peak years where it hits 70,000. So,
But really, we're not solving it. It's like what I try to tell my kids when they say, hey, I got a bunch of money in my bank account. I say, yeah, but you ain't paid your electric bill 3 months. So just because you got a bunch of money in your account, if you ain't doing anything with it, that you're supposed to be doing with it, then you ain't got no money. You know, so we may have had $100,000 of surplus, but when we haven't been taking care of our infrastructure and we're gonna borrow a whole bunch of money to do it, then we really didn't have surplus now, did we?
the other $100,000 doesn't even come close to paying for
Not
the
enough.
$2 or $3 million we're looking at doing on that project. So,
Well, I get it, but you're not solvent when you're having to borrow money to take care of your system. You're not solvent.
But you're saying we should have been at $10 10 years ago, so we could pay for these improvements today.
Or even
2% increase for
30 years before then.
for us to project what our future costs would be outside of our scale of time. Not to say we can't say there will be future costs. That's something we'd need to contract out with somebody that's got the time and the expertise to do it in a short amount of time. But I think to the point of the conversations from 2 weeks ago was, we know water rates are gonna have to go up at some point, whether it's next year, whether it's in 2 years. So I didn't know if we want to know if there was a number that was just, we're not gonna raise it that high, or should we just start gradually raising it? Just so we're not doing a huge spike like we did in the past couple years with sewer. I think that's the conversation
Well,
we're trying to have.
if we're agreeing on a 2% annual increase, we're already behind the cue ball because inflation's at 8-10%.
Maybe 2% is not enough. Maybe we should be doing 5% instead of 2%. On our rate increase and still raise it. A one-time raise just to get it. I still like the hybrid where we borrow some against it, but not raise the rates all the way to pay for it.
Really all depends on how you want to approach your budget. Just like Adam said, you're never gonna set a water rate that's gonna cover $1 million projects. The whole, as far as we know, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, the whole west side of town could collapse for whatever reason we don't know. And Matt doesn't have a crystal ball to tell if that's gonna happen. So, I mean, I do utilities maintenance, and in that world, you have a maintenance budget that covers your normal day-to-day operations and occasional things that happen. If you got large capital projects, there's usually a whole nother bucket that you plan for, which is what the CIP is, which is what your loans, and that's why you use your debt capacity to do that. You're never gonna budget for stuff like the east side.
But a little rate increase is part of that
Yes.
formula.
Well, that's part of the regular maintenance. You gotta do your regular rate increases to cover your regular maintenance of your labor, your regular maintenance on your water towers, potentially other stuff, but you're never gonna capture your capital projects on your regular maintenance budgets. Is what your rate is supposed to be. You're gonna drive whoever's gonna try and figure that out nuts. You telling somebody to figure out their capital projects and their maintenance rate. Trying to do water to pay for water when it comes to capital.
We just have a
projects.
big excess sitting there waiting for a capital project to happen.
But that's
Too much
not,
money to
yeah,
sit.
it's not really how you do that type of budget.
So
So it really all depends on how you want to do that budget. We could let a big stockpile sit there and then pay for the giant capital project at the end, but then like Colton said, you're never really gonna truly know your true cost of your water. Because you're just gonna keep building that up. And then all of a sudden you might go in there and take a big chunk out of it and then realize your water rates aren't even close because you've just been sucking on this big pile that you've had for so long, and now all of a sudden you gotta rocket it up $2 or $3 again, because you just took out millions of dollars to pay for a project, and you go, oh, we're not even close now. Just budgeting nightmare to try and do that.
Do a plan for it.
That's why I said, that's why you have your CIP, and you use your debt capacity to pay for those big projects.
I remember my grandma lived in Iowa City probably 5 years ago when they built the sewer park out there. And they almost like doubled their sewer rates or tripled their sewer rates. It was a big deal.
That's 779, is that monthly, is that back in monthly?
Yeah, we did that.
That's been a long time.
4 or
But
5
I
years
agree
ago.
with
Yeah,
you.
we haven't changed rates, I think, since 2016 or
Yeah, it was
17.
quite a discussion too.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it was on a
We fought about
4,
that for years.
yeah, it was like a 4-year rate guarantee, and I came here like in the middle of it. So, but yeah, it was like,
We cut out the commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commercial.
Incentive.
If you use more water, you pay less.
Yeah. That was ridiculous.
So if you have a
Let's use
plan
more water so we get a better rate.
for a 2% increase on your water, why wouldn't you have a plan of 2% increase on your sewer also?
we do,
We do.
we just did that.
We did that.
When we did the last rate,
Yeah.
yeah, we talked about it, the
Yeah.
first ordinance, and then we added it on the second one. And the second and third reading, it was like the very last part, the second and third reading.
It's 2%, I believe.
Okay, so I think we're all getting at a slight tax increase and a slight water rate increase. The hybrid system is, I think, what we're getting at. Eventually, we need Maggie to work out with that water rate increase.
You should be able to, Heidi or Adam or somebody should be able to sit down and look at all of our buckets of where labor and material and maintenance stuff comes out to somewhat come up with a cost per
Cost to
1,000
produce.
gallons. We should have all that information in all of our budgeting. Not saying it's gonna be easy. The information will be there. It's just gonna take somebody time to do it. I wouldn't,
I know.
Be that hard to take our water budget.
yeah,
Find out
that's,
how many millions of gallons we use in a year and see what it is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think Leslie would have that.
yeah, that's, what I mean,
Push a
it
number,
just
push
takes
a
somebody to do
button,
it. and they can
all
get it
that
out.
good.
Our bleach prices jumped
Yep.
by 30% over the last 2 months.
So it's gonna
And
be,
it just keep going up.
yeah, this year would be hard, even if we did it 2 years ago and tried to figure it out this year, it would be a mess. Yeah,
Yeah,
this last couple of years have just turned it into a disaster, but you should still, you went back to 2020, you should have a reasonable.
That might not be as much as you think though, because as the houses are growing, you know, they're obviously they're selling more water. Well, their core water expenses really aren't going up that much or shouldn't be.
Should, yeah,
I mean,
we
you
got some
know,
more
the
chemical.
well house is still pumping, you know.
So yeah, they should be able to come up with something, even if they went back to 2020, that's reasonable.
Guarantee you, like,
Last couple of years. were not
running
gonna
those
be reasonable.
pumps is not cheap. The more water you run, the more they run it, the more expense that's gonna bring. So that's just one of the many expenses.
to get a general cost wouldn't be hard to do, but to project what type of maintenance.
Yeah, that's your not.
Breakdown. It's, you know,
It wasn't that many years ago that we had to drill a new well.
Well, I mean, but you just made the point. If you don't know how much it costs to produce the 1,000 gallons of water, then you really don't know what's left for the maintenance part. Because you don't know what you even paid to produce it.
That's all I've come with, what we'll do or what I'll do is, you know, the contract for the water tower maintenance, you know, the thing over the lifespan. And then you just take whatever that maintenance, you'll have your high years and your low years. Essentially what you do is you make that an average. So then you know what it costs labor and stuff, and you have your maintenance that fluctuates. You'll have a low year, you'll make that money back. So when you have your high year, it'll be sitting there. So you kind of do it.
Sounds like to me, Nick could come in here and. Go ahead, let's see it.
I mean, I
So I
understand,
mean, it's doable.
He's on
It's just-
vacation next week. You can come and sit at her desk.
I understand why we want to do
Concept's
a
good,
split property tax water deal, but it would almost make sense to, the more we, and I'm one of those people that if we're gonna have these high rates, then water should pay for water, sewer should pay for sewer, blah, blah, blah. But water's probably never going to be able to pay for all that water project. So we're going to have to raise taxes. Well, if that's what we're gonna have to do, we're almost better off to make as much of that be a tax, go on the taxes than on the water. Because at the end of the day, when this loan falls off, we'll still have this high water rate. And odds are that everything else has went up and it's still not even gonna be relevant.
That's kind of what I was gonna, depends on how you want to do it. You keep your water rate with your maintenance and operation costs, and then you use your taxes, because you can raise and lower taxes.
Well, actually, if you put it in the debt service, then as we paid that off, then that starts going into that CIP levy. And then hopefully we're not in this position where we have to make these big chunk swings, you know, there will be some money there where we can do
So use
at
your,
least smaller projects.
yeah, use your debt service kind of as your capital money. And you use your water rate as your everyday
Right.
kind of year over year maintenance increase.
Makes a lot of sense.
Go back to the increase in the tax, so it's higher taxpayers are paying for more of a water increase than somebody that's not on that same
Yeah.
tax level. Somebody that's paying for a $400,000 house is gonna pay a lot more tax towards the water than somebody that's paying $150,000 house, a lot more, and they're probably still using about the same amount of water. So
Or they
that's
don't
the
even own the
drawback.
property.
It's that double-edged sword.
Yep.
Okay. Ready to move on? Work anniversaries.
Fun one. We have 3 basically 10-year anniversaries that have came up in the last year. When I was asked by a department about it, I asked other department heads about it. And there was quite the divisiveness on it. So I kind of need some direction. Not that anybody's mad, but some administrators did it, some didn't do it at all. And so then some were talking about 10-year, 20-year. What about 15 years? What about retirements? What if they didn't want a plaque? So I just want something in writing for consistency. So it would help me. I don't have an issue with the 10, 20, 30-year stuff. But it would just be nice to have some sort of direction from council so I can at least, here's what we're gonna do. I threw 2 ideas. One is just do nothing. The second one is 10, 20, 30. You get a $40 plaque, you know, get recognized at council. Other option would be some sort of restaurant, you know, thank you for your 10 years of service for something downtown in West Branch. So we're at least supporting West Branch businesses. But kind of opened up Pandora's box, which was not the intent of
I know
anyone.
if I say something, it's gonna-
It was not the intent
Personally,
of anyone.
I don't want a plaque to hang on.
And some people
That's me.
don't, correct. Some people don't even want.
I do mean.
ones. It's just all over the place and I just need some direction, so it's consistent. And
I'm gonna
then
give them $50 at downtown bucks and present it to them at the Christmas
Council
dinner,
meeting or council
Christmas
meeting?
dinner in front of their peers.
Print some little piece of paper off and buy a Dollar Tree frame for it and give them that. If they want to hang it on the wall, fine. And if they want to pitch it in the dumpster, it's fine, we're out of dollars.
That helping you at all?
yes.
I think it's important that we do recognize our employees. We've got a good group that works here. They work hard, they're dedicated to their job, they're dedicated to the city, and I think it's important that we recognize them and tell them we do appreciate it.
Mark Worrell's better at that than me. I just haven't been good at the recognition thing, and it's, I'll take some of the heat for that, so.
Um,
I'm not good at that.
me coming from corporate America, $50 is a slap in the face. Corporate America, out there, you in a business or a big company, factory, manufacturing, 10 years, you get 500. Without 1,000 for 20, you make it to 25, you're getting 2,500. I mean, they appreciate their employees long term.
Yes. They're varying. They give you start at 5 years, you get a plaque whether you want it or not. And then you get to select that 5 years, select between like 2 or 3 gifts that might be worth.
Yeah, we used to do
A
that.
couple might be worth $50, $100, and then they progressively get bigger.
I don't
So like
know
if
if
somebody's
they
there for like
do
50
that.
years, they can pick something that's.
A new house.
You're not that much, but they'll give you get like a really nice watch or something like that. And it's all, of course, it's all got the all logoed. So anything you ever get would be.
See, we used to do that and then the employees all complain, Christ, I'd rather have the money you just
Oh,
spent
yeah.
on that watch or
Mhm.
whatever. So that's when they went to the money.
Could ask them.
I don't know.
Well, that's where they're split on it, so.
Ask each individual anniversary winner that.
I mean, I don't know where the money would come from. I don't know that we can do that. It's just where I come from.
But yeah, some recognition,
You and I should chat, comfortable chat.
some sort of recognition. That,
Yeah. Having,
depending on where it is, I guess. We should do something.
yeah, we have a good group. It's been good for a long time too, so. Okay, volunteers for Hoover Hometown Days.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. What are we supposed to discuss about it?
We need your help, council.
Be volunteers or get volunteers.
Yes, and maybe I may have Becky step in and help me too, but our inflatable company, they called Becky maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Who did?
The inflatable company we're working with, and Becky can kind of,
Want me to explain?
yep.
So last council meeting, I got a phone call from our inflatables person, and it was not the inflatables person that I had booked and gotten quotes and everything from. Totally different person. And of course, 2 weeks beforehand, you're gonna get a call. It's not gonna probably make you happy. What they said to me was, when we got our quote, I said I wanted it fully staffed. And so when I got a quote, we had the list of inflatables that we had chosen, and then they said 9 attendance. Well, he called on last Monday and he said 9 attendance is not enough. If I do the Euro bungee, that takes 4 at least. And then we have those, which you guys remember that, right? The Euro bungee, there's 4 stations. They put you in a big harness. You fly up in the air, big hit, long lines. It's one that you definitely want fully staffed. Another attraction, they said, yeah, that one takes 2 people at least. And then everybody has to have 2 15-minute breaks. So that really went from needing 9 people to needing at least 12 if you want, and that's with doubling up. So that's going to be something that is either going to have to be one of 2 things. They're not going to be staffed, or we're going to have to get some people to fill in either during the breaks or part of the day. I have asked every group that I can think of, and I've gotten 0 response except for one 7th grade girl said she'd help me. So I'm just kind of feeling a little panicked. If it doesn't get fully staffed, it doesn't get fully staffed. The problem is that I'm the one sitting down there at the table and I'm getting yelled at because the lines are long and this isn't open, and I want to say it's free, but I don't say that because I'm nice. So that's basically the conundrum we have, along with the fact that we had planned to do a donation. We have the donation barcode or the QR code that we're putting up everywhere. But we had planned on having a donation box at the table. And when Heidi told us, what that would take for it to be legal and the auditors to allow, yes, we have cash. You have to have a staff person there at all times. You have to have 2 people at all times. This person has to have another person has to have the key. The money has to be placed in certain areas. It's very complicated. So, and because I'm in charge of this whole area, I can't really be watching a bounce house. We do have another person that'll be there all day long. And of course, there's always Gabe and Kevin who will be there all day long because that's how it works. When you work at the city of West Branch, if you've got something going on, your family's there too. So those are my volunteers that I have gotten. So whatever your direction is what I'll do.
You need bodies at the inflatables.
What they said is that some of the easier ones can be doubled up. Like you don't need someone sitting at the toddler bounce house and the other bounce house saying, okay, you can go in. You can have one person doing 2 of those things. And then there are a couple other sports related ones that one person could be doing. So that frees up a couple of people that can go to the Euro bungee. So that gives you about 3 there. They also said, we really like to have somebody putting harnesses on and off. But guess what? They didn't tell me that to begin with. I told them what I needed, and the person that I talked to either didn't know what he was talking about or whatever. So that would at least give me 3 people there, but that does not allot for any breaks that all of those people will need to take. He said he's required to give everybody 2 15-minute breaks during that time. So yeah. At this point, Roger, any help I can get at any time, even if it's somebody that, if people are not busy at any given time, that they can come down and say, hey, I can be available, during this time frame. And when those people need to take breaks, they could come down there and stand, or whatever for a few minutes. It's not ideal, but
I'll be there.
well, I appreciate that. I know that, Melissa and Jamie aren't in a slot. So, I mean, they're available to do that too, but you know what it's like getting called all over the place. We don't, it's not like we're sitting around on a golf
Scrambling,
cart.
but-
Yeah, all day long. And that's the thing for me too, is because, normally I would say, I could go over there and stand. I've done it before, but you're just being pulled in too many directions to be able to, say, I can do this for X amount of time.
That's the way I am. I mean, if I can come in, I'm not responsible for what comes out of my mouth. So dealing with them little kids, I don't know if that's a great idea, but
Don't wear your West Branch shirt.
We can get you a muzzle if you need one.
Anyway, if you guys are gonna be in town, please, you can shoot me an email and I can, if you're willing to, take a time slot. At this point, anything helps me. I'm just feeling a little panicky, just because we specifically said we want this fully staffed because of this reason. This is it. So, but
I'll be
anyway,
there an hour after the parade or
Okay.
so, about hour-ish for like. a couple
How late are
hours.
they going?
it's 11 to 5. So our budget used to cover fully staffed from 11 to 8, the amount of money that we're spending this year. But due to, post-COVID prices and all of that stuff, we got 11 to 5 fully staffed with the same amount of inflatables. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys.
thank you.
You know where I am. In this closet.
Okay. Yeah, those guys need our help. They've been working their tails off for, she's been doing that for a long time.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to go to the hometown.
All right, if you can show up, if you're available, visit. Get this figured out better next year. City Administrator report.
Yeah, I'll just be kind of quick. So you guys know what's going on with our most common nuisance house. That person said they were sick. If that's the game that'll end up being played,
I did say that would happen
Yep.
too, before. the
if
court of
that's the game that's being played, all I want to see is progress. If progress does not happen, I'm giving that person the benefit of the doubt, but come probably in the next 30 days, I will be asking you guys for your permission to take over that house. So be ready for that decision. So that's not a one you take light, but just make a little bit of progress. That's all I have to do. So, and there's been none. In fact, it's gotten worse. So,
Did this last time. Have you done it before?
He does it every time. Yeah. Yeah, this is not anything.
It's his ball game. That's what he plays.
probably in the next 14 days or so, we'll be sending out letters to the downtown historic district. When we recodified, we left out our historic preservation district, so technically we don't have one. So we will, yeah, we will. So people get confused. That's what it's about. Somehow when we recodified, it was missed. It happens from time to time, but we'll have to pass a new historic preservation ordinance with the maps of who is in that ordinance. So technically the sign permits and all that stuff, we really don't have the legal authority to do that anymore. So we're still doing it because it's the intent to keep it that way. But so if you
I
get,
don't know if I'd have said that out loud.
Transparency.
Transparency. So,
All right, anything else?
yes, that is good for me.
Kevin?
I'm meeting with the attorneys for the biggest easement holder, easement person on the creek widening project tomorrow, so I'll give you an update after I'm done with that.
Dave Schekinger, are you up? You on?
That's his number. He's the number.
Hi,
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Just a few things. Herbert Hoover Highway, we did meet with the school and had some discussion with them about acquisition of right-of-way or easements. So they're going to discuss with the school board, try to get potential meeting set up with Adam and myself. We'll get that resolved, try to keep that project moving along. On the wastewater plant, as we discussed, they have the aeration basin, the new cell already excavated for the most part, and they'll be moving over to do excavation on the cells for the Sager system here shortly and start working on structures, put aeration equipment in the new lagoon cell and try to get that operational so that they can start to phase in the rest of the improvements. On the creek widening project, as Kevin mentioned, we're working with the property owner. And then we're also trying to get some coordination between Impact 7G and myself. I was out last week and Amy's out this week. So hopefully we can get a meeting scheduled next week, get everything tied together, get a preliminary concept for how those two are going to come together and try to get the easement needs firmed up a little bit so we can start talking with the rest of the property owners. I've also been talking with the DNR forester. We have some walnut trees that are in a CRP area that are throwing a little complication in that, but working through that process as well. So that's what I have for tonight.
Thank you, Dave. City staff, anyone want to pipe up on anything? I know Uber Days is primarily online. So everybody's scrambling, I know, to get roadblocks out and signage and power.
Just waiting for hiccups.
Waiting for a hiccup. Yeah, that's what Melissa's worried about, I think.
I got one.
But she
Yeah,
has, you have one hiccup?
No, that was
We
one.
didn't say we have one already.
So I guess hearing nothing from staff, will council and mayor, anything to say?
I got something. Month of July, the West Branch Fire Department and Rescue set a monthly record of 79 calls. And they're on track to break the overall record this year. Is that a cheer thing or we supposed? No,
That's
it's,
not a good
no,
thing.
it's.
I didn't think it was.
And this dovetails into us approving the fire department appointments. These young cadets are really, really important. Because during the day, Kevin and I have gone on calls by ourselves, and it's just been me and the cadets. And unfortunately, these cadets have ended up joining the fire department. So we're still short people, and if you know of anyone that would be interested, we'd be more than happy to talk. Well, thanks for your guys' hard work.
Thank you, Tom.
We, the painting gonna be done on the opera block so they can.
I was gonna ask about that too.
The
I
machine will be-
called-
The machine will
yeah.
be gone.
I called them on Friday and they said they would be done Friday and they said you got until Tuesday. So if they aren't there Tuesday,
I talked to one of the guys that said the machine will disappear after tomorrow.
okay. That would be
I don't know if
Tuesday.
it's temporary or not.
That would be Tuesday. So I called them last week and said, if it's not gone, we're gonna make it gone. So,
Yeah, I mean, they've been taking up, I understand that they're probably not painting when the sun comes around the building, but maybe they should have been working on Saturdays and Sundays to get it done, because they're taking up a lot of parking stalls downtown for a long time.
Anybody else, anything? Okay, Hoover Days this weekend, show up if you can. Inflatables, just be around town. help out. That's what we need. These guys are all scrambling, so all the employees are working their tails off. And you guys get here at 2:30, 3 o'clock. And, yeah.
Say we're doing, we're doing a float or we're not doing a float?
We're on the float, right. Sorry. So we got a float, Ken Fawcett, so I'll go pick that up Friday. It'll be, Altorfer's gonna pick it up Saturday morning at 9, I think, and take it up to the hill where we usually go. So that's where the float will be. I'll put the banners and stuff on it. Takes me 30 minutes. I think I told him not to get hay bales. I'll figure out some seats, some bench seats. Sit on. And we won't have quite as much candy this year because we don't need to spend so much and we're throwing out way too much candy. We'll make it work. So show up, I guess I'll wear my maroon shirt, wear your maroon shirt. Tom won't be there, but the 4 of us can. You won't be there either? Okay, well, your name will be on the float, so.
I'll be there.
You'll be there.
That's the bad part. This is the first year I've ever missed it. so.
Take a break.
It's gonna be really neat.
I'll take a break.
It's gonna be neat, yeah. Look, I'm not the only one writing this.
It's the
Don't
mayor's
do that.
parade.
Yeah, it's the mayor's float.
There you go. It's a marriage club.
I'll take a break. from the
I'm gonna come and get you if you don't.
Were we getting
You know where to
more
find me.
shirts, new shirts? Not come in yet?
I have an
They're not coming in. In order.
This happened last week.
I did sign up for that. I'll show you. So at least.
So then we don't have to wear
I
these,
signed
we
up.
just free for all, or whatever you want.
I'm gonna wear mine. I'll be wearing it all day, so.
I've got that extra large. No, it may not fit you.
Jerry did. I'm gonna wear mine.
I think I had a large one last year that was like swimming in.
Yeah. Okay. I'll see you guys around 9:30 then Saturday morning. At the float. Anything else? Nothing to adjourn?
So move.
Yeah, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.